Well, hello, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are listening from. Welcome to the Rudeboy Sound Off, the Spurs Sound Off, that is. Getting my little nuances and my cadences going in the morning, but it is a very wonderful day here in the northeast of Pennsylvania in the USFA. And this morning, I want to take a look. Well, this afternoon, as it is, I've been reorganizing my temporary studio space to get into a little bit of discussions. Might need a little more tweaking on that camera. I need to get some better headshot. Yeah, yeah, that's a little better. Center the mic. I do a little bit of camera work at church. Camera three, go tight. Camera two, go wide. Yes, you are on next. Camera three, me, the director, right there. So give me a close shot. Yeah, kind of know what's going on in the background. Producing videos and audio. I do a little bit of mixing as well, live mixing. I love that. I'm a DJ, and so I take my cue from there. Love to be part of the live performances. Haven't done it in a while, but hey, but what am I here for? Yeah, to give you a little bit of my life as it is. So we are here this morning, and wow, I try to escape not doing or escape doing a recap on the Man City game because I have not gotten a chance to rewatch the game. And so you can go off on the boil if you don't have the information that you really need. So I'm going to approach it with caution and just say it was a good win, a very good win. We beat a really good team. And there's some things in there. Don't take anything away from the win. Don't take anything away from the players. Don't take anything away from Davis and Jagusin stepping in. I think the fullbacks were a little better. Jagusin was encouraging to see him hanging in there after having rough games before the break, and also um, Johnson taking his goal well. I think we see a lot of Sonny in areas that I wish and I hope that that's where he is when we get up and running, that we see him playing on the inside more, and that those forward passes are going to him rather than an inverted Udogi. And speaking about the defense, I think the defense was connected a little bit more. Was that out of the need to be connected, or was it just that the opposition was much better and there were less risk of pushing your fullbacks high, knowing that you have Savina on one side? I was surprised that we didn't get much in terms of resistance from the right side, from the left side. I think Savina was on the right side, but the left side wing play from City was lacking. There was nothing there. There was absolutely nothing there. So I think an inverted Savino was doing most of the carrying of the ball, the dribbling, creating more chances. Players in the box, getting the ball in the box in the very first part of the game, when I think Spurs were still trying to figure out whether there were six or nines. And so nothing, I think, changed in terms of the approach by Spurs. I think we were just awful in the first 10 to 15 minutes. One thing was noticeable, though, was that, and I go back to that again, was that we weren't overcommitting when we have the ball. As a matter of fact, we didn't have the ball much. I think at one point we probably were in the teens in terms of possession, and Man City was manning the ball a whole lot, get a few chances, did not take them. And we probably get back to discussing how that really come back to hurt them based on how fragile Spurs can be. And I say that with a grain of salt as well, because the way Spurs play, one goal is not going to make a difference. But I think that if you take it, then you will see something different. Maybe Man City would have been able to dominate Spurs, but the fact that they did not take their goal, and Spurs keep going through and going through and going through until they find a breakthrough, and that leads me to James Madison. One of the observations that I have was that he came deeper, right? And in coming deeper, he was able to move the ball. The noticeable absence, yeah, apart from not absence in terms of the fact that Romero is injured, or the fact that the ball was not dying with our center backs, and so you have a touch of Bissouma getting in there. You have a touch of Madison coming deeper to be that playmaker, which was like really, really good. And what that does, it kind of put the fullbacks in position wherein they now have to support Madison, because Madison is going to get that ball out wide or get it back to Bissouma, and then we start the upward trend when we were really humming. And so in that sense, in that case, we I think we come together as a team, and you saw something there that as the game progressed, you tend to say, hey, if we stay this way, and if we keep building this way, then something good is going to happen. And then that happens with the goal being scored. And one of the points I was making earlier with Romero not being there is that the ball was so much of a hot potato for Dragusin. He had one intentions, right? Because he doesn't have that reputation as being a ball playing back, a ball playing center back. So what was the objective when it goes to Dragusin was that I want this ball from my feet as quickly as I can, get it to a playmaker, get it forward. And therefore, that ball that he put over the top, if you look at how the ball was pursued, that ball was out in country land. It was country. Really kick it long and go get it. And so when once Hideki took off and he won the ball, and it began to bear fruit, the pass looks so much better. Like, hey, that was how it was supposed to be, right? And so the difference with that particular play is epitome of how when you have a Romero in there, what he was going to do with that ball. I think Romero would have sat on the ball like forever and ever, and nothing would have come of it. But the fact that Spurs wanted to get rid of the ball um, is testament to that. If you're going to play front foot football, even though you're under pressure, is that the first thing is to relieve yourself of the ball. Even though we had made some bad decisions of trying to play out, encouraging City to push up, we still were getting further up the field. And the reason why we were getting further up the field, right, was because the defense itself was not out of position. The defensive players were there to facilitate us going up the pitch in terms of the fullbacks not running away from the play. So we get a lot of that. We're in the action where the fullbacks are supposed to be was helpful. And therefore, even though we want to play out, if we didn't get it right, the fullbacks weren't out of place where they can come back and tackle and try to win the ball back, and then we go again. So part of what I've said in previous videos is that if we do those things, if we make the fullbacks do their part, wherein not asking them to be the fulcrum of the offense or part of that spoke that spokes that triggers the offense, more rather than facilitate things that happen once you get the offensive players the room to move around. If you look at just how the goal developed, right, is the first goal is just an opportunity where Madison is liberated with Kulashevsky out wide, and Sar, who what now was literally playing behind him and away from Madison, giving Madison that room every time that you were looking for Sar. Sar was on the right side, Madison was on the left side. So much room. What that does is that you don't see Udogi in the picture. So you're seeing Son, which if Madison choose to go to him or look him off, you can now go back inside because now what you do is that you don't give Madison the option of two passes. If you give him the option of two passes in the same area, he's going to go short and hope to get the ball back, or your dog is going to pass it to Son. What was happening is that Madison can make his mind up now as a playmaker to say, I don't want to go to Son on this play. I'm going to go back in the middle to Sar, and Sar's going to go to Kulusevski. And you could see those things happening in the game. So while Madison was doing all of that, one of the important things that we have to pay attention to, and I don't want to lose it, because you have to give players credit for what they do when they do it and how it affects the team. Bissouma, right, even though he wasn't taking the ball as much, Madison was coming back and he was getting the ball. Bissouma was always there, even on an early yellow card, to make sure that he cleaned up behind Madison, to make sure that he was a point of contact as he was the becomes the first in defense. And so Bissouma quietly had a good game. I mean, he had one where the ball came off his foot, but you're not going to hang him out, or put him to the sword for that. Things happen. It was a quick stick the foot out on it, ricochet, and, presented a chance. So if you look for a bad moment, then you look for that and said that was really Bissouma's bad moment. Bissouma was moving, he was clicking, he was controlling the areas that he need to control. And one of the great things about having a good game sometimes is to go unseen. Not missing, is to do the basics of the things that are required to get done. And what did that do for the team? It put the two most creative players in the highlight. It put Madison in the highlight. It put Kulusevski in the highlight. So now we're not worried about the defense anymore because the ball is where it is supposed to be. So when we're on defense, everyone now has the confidence to come back. If you look again, something that I've always stressed, if we're not facing our goals, even when you make mistakes, you can clean those mistakes up. But if you're too high and you're chasing and you have to come back and defend and you're chasing your man all the time facing your goal, you're going to have more problems for yourself than you normally would. I'm distracted, y'all. I'm watching the Man United Ipswich game, which is 1-1, at the time. Beautiful goal by Amari Hutchinson. Was a beautiful goal, and obviously it was a striker's toe poke, something like that got Rashford in very early on the play. But right now, I think Ipswich is giving Man United all they can handle for the first game under Amarich. Anyway, Amarin, but them for later. I can worry about Ipswich right now and Man United. I just want to add my voice right to the win. I'm going to enjoy the win. I like the win. I like the fact that we won the game. I'm not here to bash those who are going to criticize me or any other content creator for saying that, look, we expected to not win the game, but we're optimistic that we can win the game. Play the game. But when you look at Man City, is that we're at a distinct disadvantage, and playing the game showed that's why you play the game, and so it's a good win and you enjoy it. But when you look around, how did we actually win that game? I did post yesterday, and I'm gonna take Savaron for this if he's watching. The first part of my comment was that I like the fullback, how they stuck in and they help out, and they were doing a lot of things. They weren't going forward, especially when you look at the Madison second goal, where Madison get it from you see how far Madison has expanded his game, like I was saying before, because what was happening is that you don't have power up there, so therefore you need someone to go fill it. Sar was playing, behind Madison more often than not as a number eight and allow Madison to do and go wherever he wanted. And you have Bissouma and Sarr cleaning up behind Madison, which was great in the midfield. So we have an engine room that was working, and we did not have it overpacked and overfilled with the fullbacks going in there and mucking up the entire work. So all of that was good and positive for the game. Now, let me jump ahead and say this. Or do we take that? Sorry, do we take that with us in the next game? That's a point to be made later on or yet to see, but I'm not going to jump over there as yet. But it's worthwhile that we stick a pin there and decide to say whether or not that's how we want to play or that happened out of happenstance. Maybe, right? So we'll stick a pin there, and there's no doubt we enjoy what happened. We see how it happened, and that frustrated City. The thing that I okay, let me get back to what I was saying, Sava. So my point on your watch along was City came and played the way they played, and we played through them. They never get behind the ball. At any point did they make a tactical adjustment to say we cannot allow Spurs to get out and run. That's the first thing. And let me just put this in context. If you look at how Newcastle played us. If you look at how Ipswich played, right now Ipswich is playing Man United, and we don't see that 5-4-1 against United. There was a reason why Ipswich played that 5-4-1 because of how devastating Spurs can be to get out and run. We saw that also with it was Newcastle. I think Arsenal did kind of play a little 4-4-2 in there, and we saw the 4-4-2 coming out of Brighton in the second half. And what happened in those games? We lost all those games. The same thing from last year. I think Wolves did it, Newcastle did it to us. So I can point to 5 games that teams went 4-5-1 or 5-4-1, and we lose all those games. And so it wasn't surprising when Ipswich came out and their objective was to stop us from running. What I'm saying is that City believes in what they're doing, right? And I can point you to Aston Villa. Aston Villa do believe in what they're doing, playing that 4-4-2 high line, and Spurs beat them literally in 7 minutes. And so that's what can happen when you believe in your system of going up against Spurs without one, make a tactical effort to stop the flow of the game. Because if Spurs are going to get out and run, I can tell you this, they will beat just about every team in the league handsomely. Remember that. And so when you have teams, and I know you'll appreciate this, Sava, when you have teams that are organized behind the ball, we have a very hard time. If you look at the possession that we were having with City, they were meaning, even though we weren't getting anywhere with it, they were meaningful because what we were doing is that we were finding our way out. We weren't trying to find a way to score. If you follow what I'm saying, the difference with the possessions that we were getting, I think we were something like 38%. If you look at when teams decide to go in their 5-4 banks or 4-5 banks, what we have is that we have almost a 70% time on the ball, and we're not doing anything with it but bouncing it around. So the possession and the plays that we made were more in a survival mode than we trying to beat the team from the possessions that we have. And once we pick up that head of steam, we figured out City who wasted their time, wasted their chances. Now we start hitting them, and we hit them on the counter attack, and we scored what? 2 goals. I think it's 3 on the counter attack. So if you can shut Spurs down doing that, you're going to be in a world of trouble. And that's a point I was trying to make. At no point did City decide that, you know what, let me pull Guardiola back, right? Let me pull Stones back. Let me pull my fullback back. Let me, go in there and drop an additional man in the midfield and probably leave Savina up front or Haaland up front and drop Savina in to help to stop the flow, because Madison was creating all that havoc all by himself, just moving around as though he owned the entire Etihad, and City did nothing to stop that. So the point I'm making is that when you organize, or the point I was trying to make is that when you organize in defense and play strategically by making sure that Spurs are not coming onto you. You're picking them up in somewhere at the top of your final third, then chances are Spurs are going to get frustrated. And what you do, you counterattack them. But I said this on a video I did not post, or maybe I put it in a Facebook post. City got beat from their ego because they played as though there was a lack of respect for the things that Spurs did well. And what Spurs really do well is get out and run. And they allowed Spurs to run, thinking that, you know what, we're going to get a break and we're going to eventually score. And that did not happen. And Spurs keep on scoring. And so any team that is going, and I said it and I'll say it again, any team that feels like they can come and not be strategic in and allow Spurs to get out and run, they're going to be in a world of hurt. And especially if they don't take their chances. And that's a point I was trying to make. Not that City never adjust, right? What I'm saying is that for the game itself, they didn't. The Pep did not do any in-game adjustment to change the tactics of how he wants to approach Spurs, and he wanted to play through Spurs because the word on the street is that the defense is porous. But then when you really look at it, what I know you and I have been calling for was that the fullbacks need to stay in and help. So technically, if you look at the game overall, no defender stand out. There was no outstanding defender individually. What you have was the basic defending of every man with their man, every man cleaning up after the other, every man being there to get a toe on that, every man out to clear the ball. That's what you were seeing. Everyone in their box helping out. Solanke was coming back. Son was coming back. Kulusevski was coming back. And you saw that. And then what that does, which I also pointed out in other videos, if you want to see that video, is that when you have connectivity, you don't have to be all that good. You don't have to be world beaters. You don't have to look out and say, "Oh, this guy's as good as Saliba. Is he good as any other defender? Is he a Van Dijk?" You don't need all of that. When you have connectivity and consistency in staying connected to each other, wherein you play out of a system and as a team defending. And that's what we did yesterday. Now, the point I was making before is that do we take that to the next game and the next game and the next game? Because winning this game, right? Remember that we lost to Ipswich and we win this game, which is good, right? And so if we don't win the next game and the next game, then it will go back to inconsistency. And what do we want? We want to win a game like this. And then we build on it from Fulham. And then by the time you look up, we're going to take 12 points from 4 games. And that's how you stay in touch with the top. If you're going to win one, draw one, lose one, and then you don't know what's going to happen to the next one, it is the epitome of inconsistency, and I think you'll agree with that. So that's a point I was making. I'm not saying City never adjusts to anything. What I'm saying is that within the game and what was happening, City never adjusts, just the way Ange Postecoglou is inconsistent, even as a manager, in him changing his tactics within the game. He didn't have to change tactics yesterday. The opponent that he was facing played a straight up 4-3-3 formation for him, and they never varied from that. And so it was a matter of who was going to outplay each other, even though we did see a noticeable, I think it was out of fear of the opposition, I might put it to that, and I don't want to discredit the fact that we didn't see the fullbacks charging up in the offense. That is not an instruction or a tactical move from Ange. So I will hold back on that, because the video I did before, I criticized him heavily for not being tactical, and that is one of the most blatant change that the team actually need to start being consistent. And so when you look at the game overall, right, we did do some of the things that are required to keep us in touch, which is not overcommitting the fullbacks, not playing that high line, without any conscience. And you see that. And again, I want to give him credit. I want to give Ange credit. But then when you look at it, we don't have Van de Ven. So does that mean that the high line, which I've always stated that the high line is Van de Ven, that because we don't have Van de Ven, then it is important that we not overcome it to a high line with a slow-footed Davis and Jagusin, who doesn't have the speed of a Van de Ven to continue to play the high line. So I don't want to be critical at the time of a win, and that is why I always try to take time to go back and look at the videos or look at the game again before I make any videos actually recapping the game and assigning blames where it should, giving credits where I should, and stuff like that. Because for me, just so you know, I have a long standing disagreement with how the team played defensively. I have a long-standing disagreement with inverting the fullbacks. I have a long-standing disagreement with the fact that Son is not a wide forward, Johnson is not a wide forward, wingers as it is, if we go proper, that both of them are inside forwards and they will play better playing closer to Solanke. And therefore, if you're going to use the fullbacks. I'm not 100% against using the fullbacks as auxiliary attackers. What I want to see is that I want to see what happened yesterday. Madison is given the room to do whatever it needs to do. We don't have the Dogi and Para clogging up those areas. We want to see the areas left open for the creators to do their things and do whatever they need to do. And the three really creative players that we have is Son, Madison, and Kulusevski. Everybody else should worry about whether or not they're going to get a chance to stick it in the back of the net. We don't need Udogi going up in there and taking up space. Likewise, we don't need Poro. And you see, even though it was on a fast break, right? With Poro, if you're playing deeper, right? If your first reaction is to play defense and play deeper, logics will say that you're going to arrive later. And you see him arriving in the box later and a well taken goal. So that is what you want to see. You don't want your defense, not your defense, let me be specific. You don't want your fullbacks to be ahead of your two midfielders or three midfielders, whatever your however amount of midfielders you have in there at any time. So because we play a 4-3-3 formation. So you don't want to see those fullbacks so advanced that they're in the areas and places where Madison should be, where Kulusevski should be. You don't want to see that. You want to see what you see where the ball was turned over. Madison took it, dribble across, give it to Son, go around the back and get the return pass. You know why those things can happen? Son had the room to go do what he needed to do. He was inside. What would have happened is that what we saw in previous games is that chances are Udogi would have been so high that maybe, just maybe, and follow me on this, I'm not being overcritical, is that pass would have gone to not Son because Son would have been wider if Udogi had gone up in there. And then that ball would have been going to Udogi instead of going to Son. So you see the difference, the difference that it makes when you have your fullbacks being in a position where I'm going to try to make the defense spine a little thicker, right? A little stronger rather than me going up as a fullback to make the offense more potent. Because when you really and truly look at the average and the overall stats against them going up, they're unproductive. So why keep doing it? I understand that's what the manager wants, but on the day, that's not what the team needs. And therefore, if we can transfer that kind of play where we're allowing players to do what they need to do and be where they need to be, then we should get more results like this. Like I said, I'm going to enjoy the win. I don't want to be overcritical of that because we did play well. And I will see you after I get a chance to rewatch the game. I can pick out things that I can expand on. If I say something that is not in line with what I observe, on my first watch, then I will come back and I will make that up on the video. But for now, that's my overall take. It was a fabulous win, a fantastic win, and I hope that we kick on and do what we need to do come next week against Fulham. So for the Rudeboy sound, I am the Rudeboy DJ Paul, and I will see you in the week, sometime in the week, maybe Tuesday or Wednesday. I will do another video recapping the game in its fullest to pinpoint exactly some of the things that I browse over. So thank you for watching. I'm the Rudeboy DJ Paul. Like I said, for the Rudeboy sound, I am out of here. Come on, you Spurs.